Tweeting. Done. Okay, so now we are, I think it takes a second to go live. We just had our little boomer moments.
I'm a boomer.
We're both boomers. Like, we couldn't figure out how to do it without the echo and so on and so forth. And you're not even Jewish. I'm the one who has the echo.
I'm super boomer though.
Yeah, we both are.
I don't have good lighting because you would think that being in this industry, I would have this kind of locked down, and I just don't. I don't have anything. I don't have the right lights. I don't have
a light costs like $20.
I know. I'm just lazy. It's a procrastination thing.
So let's figure out what you need to get. You need to get lights. How do you get a back? I don't have a background. I just have crappy CDs.
No, mine. I'm just in my office.
Okay. Yeah. So we have 200 people here already. Okay. So you having a good day? You seem are you frazzled or no?
No, I'm having a great day. I was just laying out reading all day.
What were you What were you reading?
Oh, this book, Contraband.
Who's that?
Abigail Schreier.
Yeah, who is that?
She's a Wall Street Journal columnist, but it's coming out next week.
Okay.
And it's all about the kind of transgender contagion that's taking over teenagers. But Amazon, I guess, has already banned her from advertising. She's the first person this has happened to. Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, so she worked, and that's amazing because she's not some kind of IDW type. She's for the Wall Street Journal, and Amazon says you're not our kind of people.
Yeah, well, it's nuts, actually. I called her today because she's coming on the podcast this week, and I was like, I'm worried about your safety. And she's like, I keep hearing this. I'm like, how could you have written this book and not understood that like they're gonna come for you?
But there's but this is different. There's a difference between someone coming for you and like Amazon
coming for you,
and you're gonna be the first one that they're gonna be like, nah, we're not doing this.
Yeah. It's I feel like there are certain rabbit holes I go down, and
can't relate. I have literally right now in my house, I have 7 stacks of boxes of cereal that go right up to my waist. I have 120 boxes of cereal. There might be a Word document involved. 100 bars of soap, 100 scented candles. Yeah, it's a situation. And I'm just finishing up my Gems and Jellies rabbit hole with 140.
Oh, geez. Mm-hmm. I went down.
It's a lot of spite. A lot of spite to fund. That's a lot of spite funding, yeah.
I went down this rabbit hole, and whenever a couple of years ago, I asked for people to send me emails about self-censorship and ways in which they were being self-censored. And a lot of people from Media Matters and other journalists, they piled on me kind of immediately, and they were like, don't write this piece. It's just going to be another piece about right-wingers coming after, not being able to speak. And I was like, idiots. It's all people from the left wing talking about how they feel like they can't speak. But this is another one of those rabbit holes when I start reading about it and people getting silenced. That is terrifying to me. It just stirs up something in me that feels very dark.
There's only been a very few times I've self-censored. One is I deleted a tweet because do you remember when Sarah Sanders was kicked out of that restaurant? Yeah. In Virginia, and I said in their defense, the last time she ate there, they ran out of food. And I'm like, you know what? Like that's not just making fun of her; it's making fun of anyone who's overweight, and it's a cheap shot. So I deleted that.
Okay.
I have another one which is really bad, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing this because I'm gonna get too much heat for it. And look what they did to what was his name? Who made fun of Kobe, Rogan's friend, Ari Shaffir. Yeah, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going down this. Like, I'll tell you off air, and it's also fun to tell you that I'm going to tell you off air to drive everyone crazy.
I don't see you self-censoring very often, so.
Well, how would you see it if I did it? I'm gonna DM it to you right now, just so see if people can see your reaction. Okay, this is gonna be fun. This is
on private chat.
This is total Mean Girls in your Twitter DMs.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. Of these.
I love this. I feel like, what if you accidentally tweeted it?
It's fine. So this is, this was like one of those that I was like, you know what, this is definitely too far. Okay, sent.
That's messed up.
Yeah.
I feel like you're torturing your poor tweeters.
I sure hope so. Okay, David Graft, interesting choice of words. After the transgender craze, what will the left promote next? Here's the thing. Here's my opinion, and then I want to hear Bridget's. I had this tweet. I go, look, they are already in reruns because they try to put over transgenderism. Middle America wasn't having it. They tried to put over Muslims. Middle America was like, yeah, cool. No. So now they had to go back to their first big universal victory, which was blacks and civil rights. And that's where you're seeing a lot of this Black Lives Matter stuff. They're going back after the statues. This is an ideology. If you're doing the reruns, you're in retreat. Every time you hear boomers talking about Reagan, they're not changing minds. They're just trying to reassure the troops. That's my opinion. I want to hear yours.
You're much smarter about this stuff than me. I'm not. I guess that because I feel like a boomer who came out of a coma, and then there were these culture wars.
Yeah.
And not even a boomer, more I think Gen X, where I kind of came to, and I was like, what? You can't say sucking dick is cool? Like that's the kind of thing that I just didn't know that there was, and I didn't go to college. So I wasn't indoctrinated at all.
Yeah.
I missed all of that. I missed all of the things. And I was a little old even for that. I'm 41. So even if I had gone to college, I might have missed it. So I knew nothing of this culture war. I knew nothing of the idea of the cathedral and then I feel like I'm constantly reminded of it over and over again. Like,
you have to be.
I'll be just cruising along trying to avoid it. And then I'm like, God damn it, Malice was right. Once you see it, it's everywhere.
Oh, yeah. They call it the Matrix. Well, their whole point is that you can't escape it. Even like in video, like I make this point in my book, even if you're having video games or sci-fi, places where you go to escape the actual Earth, you can't escape them. There was a guy who tweeted out when all this stuff was happening, who wrote a book called like When Star Wars Conquered the Universe, I think was the name of the book. Mm-hmm. And he was yelling at the @Lucasfilms account, you need to post something about Black Lives Matter. And I'm like, even long ago in a galaxy far, far away, they care about George Floyd. Because that is what you happens. You can't make this up. When you have a totalitarian fundamentalist ideology, nowhere in the universe, even imaginary universes, can you escape their edicts.
And it became kind of not a joke, but it was one of those things where anything you said online, especially that whole week, any single thing that anyone said, it was like, well, I'd be like, I ate breakfast. Well, you know who can't eat breakfast anymore, Bridget? I'd be like, okay, like, how do you argue with that? Right. And so just
Derek Chauvin, because he's arrested.
Just like,
he's the martyr of our time.
I want to go for a swim. Well, you know who can't go for a swim anymore?
Black people can't go for a swim. Is that what you're saying? You're saying they can't swim. These are hurtful stereotypes.
That's how I get canceled.
They're much better crossing oceans than we are.
Oh man, Michael, you really went into the wrong. What do you consider yourself? A media personality? How do you define?
Yeah, I could say media personality. I think that's a good one. Or you know what I say? I'm one of those people who have those those people who go on TV and sound like they know what they're talking about, but don't. That's me. Like, that's how I will introduce myself at a party.
I think you do know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but the thing is, we're always kind of put upon to have opinions about everything. And like, yeah, I'd like to stick with what I do know about, but a lot of it, I'm not as informed as I would like to be. Plus, I don't know. I just think it's kind of ridiculous, our jobs, that like we can pay the rent by running our mouths. There's a little bit of an absurdity to it.
Of course it's absurd, but you seem like you're living your best life.
I am really doing great. And I'm started writing my next book, which I'm super having fun with and making progress about. And I got to tell you, it's just, I don't know. I am like, listen, I have 140 jams in my house. Like, what could possibly go wrong?
So tell me what it is about this moment that you feel like you're thriving in it.
I think you know the answer to that. I don't think there's anyone who is more sexually attracted to political chaos than me. Like literally, maybe the president, but I don't think he even is aware of how badass it is. And I'm sitting here and I'm just like, and I've been talking about this for a long time, baby. And now that it's here, and I'm just like, fuck yeah, I get to be Joker and Fight Club.
But are you ready for the full, if society were to completely break down, are you ready to live in that reality where you don't have Wi-Fi or maybe water?
Oh no, but there is a great deal of ruin in a nation. This is when people are like, America's done, the West is done. Come on, like just think back of what we've had to go through before, and now who are we up against? College professors? Like we beat Hitler, we beat Stalin, we beat Khrushchev, we beat the Clintons. And now, like, you're worried about Melissa Click? Like, are you? This is who's going to take you down? Are you serious? Okay. Hey, Michael, I can't take protests seriously. Haven't seen so many bended knees since the Lolita Express for Epstein. You could have done better. You could have said Elizabeth Warren's grandparents. Come on, that's a much better bended knee joke. No question tonight. Love you, Malice. Your Star Wars analogy was great, too, by the way. It wasn't an analogy. It was a fact. This guy was tweeting, and I called him out on it. And he deleted the tweet. But the other thing is, and I want to hear your opinion on this, Bridget. I think a lot of progressivism as a religious faith and a sociology, as opposed to like someone who's like, oh, we need to have welfare and I want to see people starving, allows like there's a certain narcissism to it because it gives these like urban, educated people this sense that I'm saving the country and the world and I have a purpose and I matter, when otherwise they're just assholes watching, Breaking Bad or Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah. I have this the whole book that I'm reading, the statistics are interesting. And I guess it's something like now 70% of the 70% of the actual surgeries that happen are from women to men. And it used to be drastically reversed. Are you there?
Uh-oh. Wait. Yeah, I'm here. Oh, did I go away? Okay, sorry.
It's chaos.
It's chaos. Wait, I'm here. Wait. So it sounds like I misunderstood it. You're saying that it's only 30% that are getting their dicks cut
According
off?
to this book and these statistics, it's been a huge reversal in what it was forever in terms of the statistics. And I was thinking about it, and it's predominantly white kids, and yes. I was like, if you are kind of raised in this intersectional place, how else are you going to have value unless you take on something like that ideology?
My understanding, though, is there's been an increase of trans people as trans people and not as biological women. And that one of the big conservative arguments against it was, like, you're crazy, you just want to chop off your dick, it's not gonna be a vagina, you're gonna be fucked up from it. And a lot of trans people now have come to the point where they're like, yeah, you're right, it's part of me, I'm a trans woman, meaning a female with a dick, and I'm not going through the surgery because there are those consequences. I think, isn't that the case in the trans community? I don't know about this place.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure. I don't even know. I find that I get very in the weeds and lost when I start going down this rabbit hole. But I was thinking about just why, because the whole idea of it being a contagion, something that is like teenage girls are just kind of hopping on this bandwagon in suburbs everywhere. I was like, what would lead that, other than just it being cool and being kind of the hip thing to do. If you're just a white kid, you're kind of shit out of luck in terms of having any value
status.
Yeah, but because victimhood is status, so that automatically puts you at least in a position where you have some kind of, I don't know. I'm working these thoughts out on the fly because I've been.
I'm just
fascinated by this whole I didn't grow up with, this is what she was saying in the book. Like the numbers are in Britain, it's like 4,000% more people are identifying as trans than ever before. In America, it's 1,000% more. That's a drastic increase in a very short period of time.
Yeah, so I was talking about this on Part of the Problem. Something that leftism cannot wrap its head around is that sometimes people respond to incentives. And to even present this as a possibility is a big heresy in leftism and results in extreme reaction to the contrary. And to even posit as a hypothesis that if there is an incentive for someone and no cost to say, oh, I'm gender fluid, and now all of a sudden I'm treated as an object of social desirability. Oh, I have a gender fluid friend, an object of interest. Tell me how you feel. That some people would not respond to this. Now, you could say, but then they go, oh yeah, sure, some, but it doesn't matter how many. Very quickly, they're sweeping under the rug. And what we all know is that kids are stupid. And if they are going to get rewarded in some way for doing some things, and if there's such a thing called peer pressure, but the thing is, they don't apply this thinking to a political context, because then they don't want to say, well, you're dismissing me as an adult trans person. This is an adult. And it's like, yeah, you don't really want to have this conversation, especially if you're going to have it both ways, where you could be trans or you could be gender fluid and have nuance in that sense. But when it comes to motivations, no, everyone just wakes up and they realize I'm trans, and then that is sacrosanct.
Well, and in terms of the way that it's treated in psychology, it's the affirmative. You have to affirm it. And she makes a point in her book, like, and what can you imagine applying this to anorexia or anything else, where you come in and say, hey, I think this, and I think that I'm fat. If you're, 6 foot, if you're 5'7" and you're 95 pounds, and I want you to call me that, and they say, okay, she was saying it's a strange thing to have a teenager come in and you have to just, and but this is all across like the APA. It seems like that's just standard practice. So I don't know how it made its way up the chain, and I guess that's where I get into the dark rabbit hole.
Yes, you know exactly how. It didn't get through the chain. It started from the top, and orders came down from up high.
Yeah, it's very
not organic.
I just worry about all these kids.
Yeah.
They're.
We got a great. No, I got you. Finish your thought. I don't want to interrupt you.
Oh no, I worry because I thought I knew a lot of things at 14, 15, even through like 20.
Yeah.
And I found recently, I was saying this when I was on a podcast recently, I was reading something I wrote when I was 23, and I sound almost exactly like AOC.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was very much like, I was bartending, I was working, I was like, damn the man, and there's nobody really who has your back in that industry. It's not unionized. You're on your own. You don't have health insurance. You're kind of just fucked if you are out of work, and everybody treats you like a human punching bag. Yeah. And you also see the ails of all the people who are just at the bar drinking or whatever. So I can understand. I look back on it and I'm like, yeah, I still understand that sentiment from some perspective and from a heart perspective and compassion. But I also understand that the solutions that I thought were viable at 23 are not. I just see all these 20-year-olds too, like pulling down statues and stuff. And I'm like, you guys aren't old enough to understand that if we're judged by our worst moment, our worst character trait, in spite of what we might have done through all of history, that is, it leaves very little room for redemption or for even hope, which is where I'm at.
Yeah.
I'm not hopeless.
Greg's a great question. Bridget, you're often self-deprecating, not knowing how to get your life together, not having informed opinion. That's how you present yourself. Is it to help NPCs relate to you? Does that make you feel particularly well-suited to represent centrism? I think about this all the time about you, because you're a stealth bitch in the sense that you play coy how savvy and smart you are. And you're one of the few people that the more I get to know, I've said this publicly and I've said it to you, your face, the more I get to know it, the more I know that there is to you, and the more impressed I am as a person. Whereas with most people, it's familiarity breeds contempt. So this is a great question.
So what's the question? Does it help NPCs to relate to you? Okay, so this is a good question. I think it's my default. Okay. I moved a lot. My factory settings. I moved.
Where'd you hear that expression?
I moved a lot. I moved a lot, and I had to make people comfortable a lot just around me because I was this new outside being into social hierarchies, and so I have a natural. I'm also Irish, and like in our family, you just had to be able to make fun of yourself and be self-deprecating to survive. Make the jokes about you before they can make them about you. So part of it is just my wiring, and I think it's funny. I love making fun of myself. It's one of myself is one of my favorite targets because I'm highly aware of how it's nearly impossible to get outside of being hypocritical in a capitalist society, and it's also hard. I don't want to ever. It's like I've always just said, take the work seriously, don't take yourself seriously. I just think that there's a point where you have to be able to laugh. And I've laughed at a lot of shit. I was watching the Epstein thing the other day, the documentary, and I was like, wow, this is really hard to watch. And my friends are like, what's so hard about it? I'm like, I totally would have been one of Epstein's girls.
You wish.
100%. If I had been in Florida, I have the right background, the right psychology. I would have been given that foot massage for $200. No time at all at 17. Someone would have been like, hey, Bridget, you want to make $200? And then I would have been like stuck on an island. That is undoubtedly 100% true. And
go ahead, sorry.
So yeah, I think that it's I think it does it makes me comfortable, but it's also I don't know anything. That is not something that I don't realize how much I know, but the more I know, the less I feel like I know. I read your book, for instance, or hear you talk, and I'm like, God, he's so well versed in history, and he knows so much about so many different topics, and you can speak to so many different things that I feel like I know enough to sound like I know something, and then that's where the buck stops.
Okay. Why are you confident? This is for me, I guess. Why are you confident that just because the cathedral's unmasked, what comes after it will be peaceful? Because the cathedral only works by domination and persuasion. The cathedral doesn't control. So the cathedral lie is that everyone agrees with it, and it's the only way to be. And once people realize that it isn't, that there's alternatives, they're not going to follow its edicts. It's very hard to have people follow suit when you realize you're a fraud. So that's kind of an easy question for me. Please ask Bridget to marry me. Okay. Make sure she knows I donated a whole $5 to ask that. More where that came from. Hey, the $200 foot rubs, baby.
Hey, you donated that $5 to Michael, by the way, not
That's
even
correct.
to me.
So yeah, I'll be sure she doesn't get this money. Many black pill takes since March. Thank you for consistently filling our white pill prescription. Wait till this book. It's going to be sick. Bridget, it's not because you're raised by progressives that they're mutilating. It's because the Jews are trying to wipe out the whites, obviously. Okay, shut up. On behalf of the juices, yes, that is 100% the plan. Hey, Mr. Malice, that's me. I've heard you say lately that you think the cathedral is going to lose. Why do you think it will, and what will replace it? I don't know what will replace it. I just know it'll probably be a lot better. Why do you think it will? That's going to be a big part of my next book. But basically, keep watching my Twitter, and I keep pointing out how they're getting sloppier and sloppier, and their mask is dropping. The cathedral technique is that it's not the cathedral. If you listen to most lefties, they will tell you, oh, it's just common sense, or everyone thinks this, or all smart people think this. So once you realize, wait a minute, there's choices, then your brand is fucked.
Yeah, it's preference falsification. Like more and more people are waking up to the fact that not everybody believes what they thought they believe, and they don't even believe.
Right.
They just thought they had to believe it because they thought everyone else did.
Right, and it's not a right or left thing. Go on.
No, it's funny. Even talking to my dad, who's a diehard lib, you know, he's I feel like and even just my inbox, that I am politically homeless at Gmail, which is now just an online confession booth. More and more people from the left every day email me, and they're like, I had no idea. You know, they're not necessarily running into the arms of conservatism or MAGA or MAGAism or whatever you want to call it. They're just waking up to something in their own party that they had never been aware of.
I'm going to give you all one sentence to tell your blue-pilled friends and watch them have a meltdown. Okay, this is how it's done. You're watching the Magic Hat people. Tell them, put it on yourself. I am having difficulty reconciling being pro-trans and pro-Muslim immigration. Just put it out there. And they will not be able to say anything coherent in response. And they will freak the fuck out. And you're saying, I don't know, inform me, educate me. And they will just flip their shit. I love your historical examples of why what's happening today is nothing new. Let me point that out. Like, these riots were nothing compared to historical riots. I mean, even in Ferguson, people were getting pulled out of their cars and murdered. Now, this footage is very disturbing. But psychologically, it's more disturbing for us to see this old couple get the shit beat out of them than to read about millions of people starved by Stalin. But that's just how the human mind works.
82 people died in the Rodney King riots.
Okay, yeah.
82.
It seems like the right sits impotently in the corner while the left constantly scores cultural legal victories. Yeah, we're never going to have a Republican president again. The right has been on the counterattack so hard. Look at there's that clip. It's on my Twitter. I don't remember where. Anderson Cooper Mr. Vanderbilt had to go on TV and explain why CNN had fucking Greta Thunberg on a panel about the coronavirus. And he hated every minute because he's an old school WASP blue blood. This is a function of power forcing him to do things publicly he hates. And you could see it in his fucking blue blood face every single minute of it. So it was absolutely glorious. A bookie quoted me odds of 80-1 of Rock Johnson becoming president in 2024. Could that happen? Do you think U.S. will vote celeb in future? I do not see any real possibility of that happening because I don't think he has that aggressive personality that Trump was known for. And I don't know who he'd be playing to, unless he tried to be Trump Jr. But even then, and isn't he born in Kenya? What do you think, Bridget?
I mean, I don't rule anything out anymore.
Sure.
Because I do wonder, you know, one of the things I've been thinking a lot about and want to write and have been writing about just privately is how growing up in a really chaotic environment and growing up with nonstop chaos and drama, you get very used to that. And even when I was out of that situation, I just kept recreating it until I had help from the outside, like therapy and all kinds of things to stop creating that situation. So I want, who Biden's not going to win. No one's picking that boring dude over Trump. I'm sorry. People want to be entertained. Yeah. So my worry is that people are so addicted to the drama. You see the journalists, when Trump goes quiet, they get twitchy as fuck. It's like they need their hit. They need that fix. And the left does too. If he just was, that's why I always say, like, he could handily win if he just shut up easily. But they need each other. So I wonder, I don't put anything in terms of an entertaining president. I don't really rule anything out. I actually think like Kim Kardashian stands a really good chance.
Well, she's a criminal justice reform. I mean, she did save a woman's life.
Yeah.
What do we need to do to get more frequent Malice Phetasy content? I mean, Bridget should do a stream and I'll jump on hers.
Yeah.
So she can make super chat money. I'm more than happy to reciprocate.
I don't know how to do this, but I'll figure it out.
We could ask a dim-witted child to explain it to you.
Dim-witted children explain everything to me.
Imagine a psychologist affirms schizophrenic hallucinations as being real. Okay, here's the thing. I don't think if someone wants to just say, I'm living my life as a woman and not have any... Yeah, okay.
I don't care. but then demanding that the whole reality around them, that's where it gets tricky.
Right.
The forced speech, that's where it's like, okay, all right.
Oh, this is something that's funny. Bridget, love your intro song to Dumpster Fire. You were just telling me about that, the unicorns. Yeah.
That's really funny because we have the original video of me singing that song. I make up jingles all the time. I do a thing where I'll be like, hey, I'd like to imagine that I'm in a really dark musical comedy all day, every day, and just make up jingles. And we were watching this whole Antifa in Portland, and there was a unicorn dancing, and I started singing, and Hope, my dog, who you know very well, I was singing it. The video's on YouTube, and I'm like, and she like freaked out and couldn't understand what was happening. And she just ended up leaving the room when I was singing the song. But then we ended up using it as our Dumpster Fire intro. So that's the origin story for that.
Would love to see either of you guys at Tim Dillon. Yeah, he unfollowed me on Twitter, which is his prerogative, and I invited him on You're Welcome. He didn't reply. I don't know. It's again, I'm a Freedom Association person. I'm not taking it personally, but that's where that stands with me. I can't speak for Bridget.
I don't know. I've had him on my podcast, and that's it. Yeah, he's never had me on his, or I don't. I mean, Tim and I are friends. We talk, but he's I don't know. I don't even know if he's still in LA. I don't know.
I think he is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. My normie potato dem mom agrees that the press is the enemy of the people. She tuned it out, ignoring politics. With any luck, she'll forget to vote. Well, I don't think. Let her vote. Let her feel good about herself. What do I care? It's not going to matter one way or another, depending what state you're on, probably. So,
I do. It's funny to sometimes when I see these just misleading headlines and things that people are saying, I'm like, wow, I never really understood that enemy of the people. And that's when because I was always like, all right, let's not demonize the press. I don't like demonizing anything. Sure. I find that I recoil from it. And that kind of rhetoric, I feel like I do think that there are journalists all over the world doing really hard hitting journalism and work. And it's a very thankless job. And so I think what I confuse is the individual journalist with the press. And that is where I'm like, wow, yeah, they are the fucking enemy of the people.
Yeah, yeah.
More and more lately.
Yeah. With veganism becoming more mainstream, do you think progressives will try to fully ban meats and other foods? I don't see it happening at all. I don't think veganism is becoming more mainstream. I think it's more of these like paleo or raw or all meat carnivore. I don't see it becoming. I think it's fading as being an identity. What do you think, Bridget?
I mean, I don't put it past progressive to try and ban anything anymore. But I don't. Yeah, I feel like that was a thing. Maybe when they're worried about global warming killing us.
Yeah. Any excuse to kind of control people, they'll reach for if it validates their stretch for power. Yeah.
It's so funny how quickly that fell out of fashion in the middle of the pandemic. Now.
Oh yeah.
Everybody has to do throwaway menus. If you're a restaurant, you can't have like recycled.
And they brought back the plastic bags to New York. Yep.
Yeah. You can't bring your recycled bags in California. It has to be all. You can't bring any of your home bags because they're disgusting. So it's just funny in the hierarchy of needs in a capitalist kind of consumer society. How quickly everyone's like, oh, that's a luxury we can't afford.
I gave Biden money. Are you guys enjoying the malarkey? I gave Biden money. I am enjoying every minute of it. He's been on the back burner. Just you wait till he starts running his mouth. 2016, every Republican had to wake up every morning for months and be like, what the hell does this fucker said now? And that's going to be the Democrats' path from now until November.
I am enjoying it. Although a lot of people are suffering, and I feel like everyone's mental health is really starting to break down after being locked up and then having all of these nightmarish images pumped in their brains. And then now, do we stay in or do we stay out, and being afraid? And I think I continuously am getting emails from people about how they feel like they're going crazy. And so as much as I feel very well suited and prepared for this, I am deeply worried about my fellow man. And so that takes away from me being able to fully enjoy this moment, because I get so many emails from people and they're really suffering.
Accidental healer.
But that's my big priority for the next 9 weeks, is getting myself spiritually, mentally fit for the fall, because I feel like the fall is going to be bananas. It's just whatever we think it is now, it'll be, this goes up to 11. And I'm really worried about people. They feel there's no touchstone. Like you, I think, are a reasonable person people turn to. I know Chloe Valdery is another one who's people seem to gravitate towards. She's always positive. I think me, although I struggle kind of with nihilism at times, but I'm worried. People being alone and only online, which just projects everyone's cognitive distortions and all of their mental illness. And that's really the primary source of interacting. And I've seen this now, people used to say Twitter isn't real life. And recently my sister said she's in Maine. And she was like, Bridget, I was in a restaurant the other night and 8 guys got kicked out because of they were laughing and joking, and the table next to them said they were offended. And she said, I felt like I was watching a Facebook fight in real life. And some guy texted me and he said, Bridget, I just witnessed a Twitter fight in real life in the grocery store. So I think, this is starting to trickle into real life because so I'm worried.
This is a good one. Is there anything us normie citizens who aren't even verified on Twitter can do to hasten the cathedral's demise? Yes, I think it's very easy. You can be a quality person and pick your battles, and that will leave your friends who are questioning the cathedral to feel safe around you. And you can, it's kind of like being gay in the 50s. It's kind of like, I don't believe this shit. No, neither do I. Okay, cool. Let's go to a party. And this is going to be self-serving, but I promise you, I would have said this in any other context. Support the people who you think are out there front and center doing the battles. If it wasn't for my locals and all the support I get, I couldn't do this shit. The fact that I don't have to worry about being homeless, I'm not wealthy by any means, but I don't have to freak out. The fact that I have my show and I can do my show and I can have 100 things of jam and I never have to hold back, with that one exception, which I DM'd to her, is really psychologically also helps me be optimistic, because then it's like I can go as hard as I want to these horrible, horrible people and I never have to worry about being fired. Your thoughts, Bridget?
I agree with that. And it does, I would say that the thing you said that I've really had to accept is we are fighting battles publicly that we have the ability to fight because we are not working for any institutions and have very little to lose other than maybe getting deplatformed.
Yeah.
And so I have said, I don't think I understand how much people supporting me affords me the ability to say the things that a lot of people want to say. And I joke like there's no money in nuance, but I think increasingly there is money, and there has to be money in nuance. And we have to, if you hate the corporate press, if you hate the divisiveness, if you're craving nuance, I would say same thing, support those people you feel are bringing that into the world, because the more that the capital goes in that direction, the more you'll start to see a demand for that even in the mainstream, instead of just in these kind of backwater channels where we exist. So
the swamps.
Yeah, and I thank everybody. I understand the value of $1. I worked on my feet for many, many years, and to be able to just do the show and do Dumpster Fire, which takes a lot of effort and work, and to be able to write and to be able to exist on locals where I actually feel safer than I did over on Patreon.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
Yeah, is a blessing. And I would not have the time to do this kind of stuff if I had to, I by the way, I don't even know if I could get hired as a waitress anymore anywhere if they looked at my social media. So now I wonder if I'm even employable anywhere else. Like I kind of have to go all in on this.
But that's the other thing, that like with Patreon, you would, if this was your main source of income, right? they could just knock you off overnight, and there'd be people who would make it a point to get you knocked off overnight.
Yeah.
With locals, I know I'm getting a heads up phone call, and I'm going to have a sit down. So I really feel I have complete freedom to be a total fucking asshole, which is, my core competency. Society will only collapse if you stop tweeting. Okay, well, that's not going to happen anytime soon, as we all know.
There's a few bigger, there's some bigger fish up on the ladder that need to be fried before they come for you or I, unless they knock us off because we're the small fries.
Yeah, make examples of us. Why stay in LA? That's a good one.
Yeah, well, I've been thinking a lot about this, and I just kind of I'm the kind of person that will pull the plug and leave overnight, and I've been I just can't. I have family here, and I have other reasons that are very important to my heart that keep me here. Otherwise, I think I'd be gone. I don't think I would stay, but I am certainly looking for other places to go, and I just want to be more strategic about it instead of being Bridget and just pulling the plug. So I've committed to, another year, and then maybe in 9 months having a better idea. But right now, I don't think it's a great idea to make any decision. I don't like making decisions out of fear and reaction. Yes. And I don't think it's as much as, yes, there's chaos around here. I live on a fault. There's always a chance of LA going absolutely bonkers and everybody losing their mind. So to me, psychologically, it's no different than any other day. People are just more aware of it, maybe. But I'm just happy more people in LA than ever before are probably prepared for earthquakes.
Just want to say, loved your interview with Moldbug. He's been on about 5 shows lately. You're the only one who didn't seem intimidated. Well, me and him are pals, and we are kind of on the same page on so many things. So it would take a lot for me. I'd probably be intimidated. It would take a lot for me to be intimidated by someone. And I certainly would do a good job of not showing it. Doing a lot of live TV kind of knocks that out of you.
Who would Bridget, you be intimidated by?
Who would I be intimidated by? I mean, it would be Hillary or Trump, like these major political powerhouses I'd be intimidated by. Let me see. I'm trying to think if there's any thinker I would be intimidated by, and there isn't, because I feel like they would have enough respect for me that it wouldn't be a whole debacle. I don't, other than major, the Dalai Lama or the Pope. These major figures, I would be oh shit. Miss America, I'm not joking. I'm an immigrant. So I've interviewed Kirsten Haglund on You're Welcome. She's a former Miss America. Mm-hmm. And I totally get fresh off the boat. Oh my God, it's Miss America. It's so fucking weird. So that would be Camille Paglia. Definitely I'd be intimidated by. I think that's the list.
What age were you when you came again?
2. But we spoke Russian at home, and it's still kind of part of it's just in there.
Yeah.
Just oh my God.
Yeah.
Bridget, assuming you have the focus and desire, what topic would you most likely to do a deep dive into that you believe would be most beneficial for your life? That's a great one.
What topic would you most likely that I would like to read or that I would like to read
about? Yeah, I think read
about. Wow. I mean, history is where I feel like I gain the most understanding of myself and the current state of affairs. I also am shockingly ignorant. I feel like I don't know enough about the Reconstruction era. I don't know very much about the post-Civil War. I feel like there are big blanks in my education. And also, I feel like I could just go back and learn all kinds of... I've been learning all about the French Revolution on the great courses, and there are just certain parts of history that... World War I know very little. I know lots about World War II just because my grandfather fought in it, and I feel like you get a better history about it, but yeah, there's a lot. I mean, just history in general, I think. And so I'm trying to find a focused way to attack these things.
Are you going to get on Rogan again? We'd love to see you give him the white pill. I'm assuming that's for me. Stay tuned. I have nothing scheduled with him, but I'm sure it'll happen at some point, hopefully.
Why? What's the white pill? The hope pill?
The white pill? Yeah, it's hope. The black pill is...
He's hopeful though, isn't he?
Sure, but I think it's different. I think he also means that I'm giving the audience the white pill as well. And
Oh,
when you
yeah. I'm like, I
articulate
hope
it,
he
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
admit. He's like, I'm fine.
What is your favorite thing about Bridget? I would say how multi-layered she is, and how much is going on underneath there, and how much there is to unpack. That is my, I would say, is my favorite thing. I think, are we caught up? Wait, there's one more. Hold on. Um, oh, hold on a second. Sorry, this app is not ideal. Here we go. This
What
is
app is
from
that?
StreamYard.
Oh,
The
okay.
internet, and more directly social media, killed our herd thought immunities. Before those, the crazy town person was just that. Now they're able to network, and it's for the worst. You're talking to the town crazies. Like, that would have been
Truly.
us. It certainly would have been me. If you're advocating anarchism 30 years ago, you're a loon. If you're advocating, strong 2A against an overreaching government, you're a loon. So
I
the
mean, even
crazy.
if, yeah, go on. Sorry.
I was just going to say, as one of the big themes of my book, which I got from Thad Russell, is the fringe is where you have lunacy, but also innovation. Camille Paglia has that great quote that the reason there's no female Mozart is because there's no female Jack the Ripper. So you have the people on the edges are the ones who are the crazies, but when you're in the middle, you don't know if it's crazy or just brilliance.
I like that.
Since the boomer cons are totes lames, where do you see the right creating culture? And where do you see it going from here? You answer
Good
your own
question.
question. It is memes. It is the internet culture. It is a lot of these like edgelord types. Where do I see it going from here? I think we're seeing the complete perception that the cathedral and evangelical progressivism is embarrassing and lame. And that is going to happen sooner rather than later. And it's going to be this kind of perception that the kids in the 60s had of their parents, the early 60s, like who told them they shouldn't be dancing, like, to like fucking
Like
Elvis.
rock
They're
and
like,
roll, yeah.
yeah, like that's where we're going.
That's funny. But where does that? Yeah, I wonder what that looks like.
It's gonna look great.
Yeah.
And it's the truth. So I think it's going to really be a big opportunity and lots of new subcultures to develop. And the thing that's happened in our lifetime, I feel, is that there's been an increased respect between different subcultures for each other, that the jocks like the nerds and the nerds talk to the jocks. And I think that's just a great, great, great thing. You two are my favorite. Well, that's not what favorite means. Dennis Miller has been talking about the country going their separate ways. Any chance or interest in talking to him? Yeah, how about in July?
Why July? Are you talking to him in July?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's not confirmed yet, but it looks like it. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
What do you think of Dennis?
I like to. I mean, yeah, he seems like he's always been interesting, and I like. I was just thinking about this today of just how, one of the things that makes me want to get out of LA is how quickly before everything is just where it does descend into these little nation states, like each individual state becomes separate.
But LA is its own nation state, don't you think?
Yeah, we are to a certain extent, although I think there's a lot more ideological diversity here than people are aware of. So people everywhere that I go are like, oh my God, I saw you. Oh my God, I watched you. Oh my God. So everywhere I go, whether it's to a party or some before COVID, but I'm hearing this from people that I interact with all the time that, so there I'm like, oh, I see you. So I think there's a lot more again, it's a lot of preference falsification in LA where people all think that everybody around them and people in LA talk like that. That's part of the bullying of like assuming that assuming everyone is on board when you make these statements like about anti-Trump or whatever. It puts anyone who might disagree just automatically forces them to shut down.
Writing your suicide note on live stream definitely is intimidating. I don't know what that means. I don't know. I'm sorry, Greg.
Writing your suicide. Is it me or you?
I don't know. Like intimidating. Because talking to Hillary. Get it? It was funny when we said the Hillary thing. Bridget the Black Pill Slayer. Yeah, that's true. She's great with that. I'm forced to move out of my home state due to the change of Virginia gun laws, turning us into felons if we stay. Hard not to be blackmailed while being forced to evacuate. Is a national divorce possible? Hey, I had to flee my country of birth.
Yeah.
So, number one. Number one, just because there's a retreat's not a surrender. Is a national divorce possible? Yes, I think a national divorce is very possible. I wrote an article about it called "The Case for Secession" from 2016. If you look it up, you'll see my outlining it. And I think it's not only possible, it's desirable and hopefully likely. But the American system is pretty strong. Go ahead.
I think being blackpilled is a choice. I know this because I have to choose. Not, somebody said the other day, it's not the incident. Oh my gosh, what was the quote? I wrote it down. It was so good. It's something about like the incident doesn't take away your choice. I'll find the exact. But ultimately, we have. And I learned this from the Holocaust survivor I interviewed and the woman that I just interviewed who lost her 12-year-old son. They both reiterate you have the choice to remain optimistic in the face of all things telling you not to, or to give in to nihilism and hopelessness. And that is on us. That's ultimately our and to keep one another lifted up. But the incident didn't take your choice away.
Yeah,
so I would say the incident of having to move, and you get to go somewhere. You're not trapped, right. Which is always, being the gypsy that I am, for me, being trapped is far worse than having options. So you have options, and B, you can choose to look at this as something new.
Yeah, I had this tweet yesterday. I had it worded perfectly, and it's not coming to mind now, of course, where I said, it's not certain that we will win, but it's absolutely not at all certain that we will lose, and that is the white pill. Like the black pill is you're certain we're going to lose, and here's why it's not ridiculous to have that white pill. Everyone here, I'm sure, to some extent likes books, right? If you go to a bookstore, 99% of them are terrible. But you don't judge books by those 99% terrible books. You judge books by those few that you read, which moved your life and made you a better person. So yeah, if it's likely that things are going to go to shit, that does not mean that is the realistic approach to looking at life and the possibilities. You judge things, and again, you can if you want to, but I don't think that is how. You don't look at any other form. You don't look at food by the fact that most food is junk food.
Yeah, and I do think this is the opportunity to, that whole idea of it's an inside job. All of this work in terms of keeping yourself mentally healthy, noticing what you're ingesting actually in your real diet and your media diet, taking care of yourself physically, getting exercise, making sure you're going out into the world, getting in nature. These are all choices that you have the option of making, and that will keep you in a place of gratitude. And, the more time you spend online, unless you're Michael Malice, generally your mental health will start to deteriorate, and also your sense of goodwill and your sense of goodwill for your fellow man and your sense of hopefulness. So I would say move in between those two worlds, and don't forget that there's we have options that like humans have never had before in the history of freaking humanity.
Yeah, politics are fun. What to you are the foundational principles of culture that in the end drive politics? Well, I don't know about foundational principles, but certainly culture, does drive politics, and I'll be damned if I'm going to surrender culture as a whole, not just to the left, but specifically to the evangelical left, whose entire MO for decades has been trying to thwart any new culture as it arises. And then after the people who created it are long dead and gone, they're retroactively made into saints. It's reprehensible, and conservatives who are not comfortable with pop culture are letting them do it, and I'm not going to let them do it. What do you think, Bridget?
That's my biggest gripe with conservative media, and what I've said to them consistently when I've had the chance is start writing and talking about the culture, because they're always in this reactive, like, we have to fight it, because they're the underdog. They're not the mainstream culture. Although I think right now there's an opportunity to, instead of constantly being these sad sack reactives, to harness the energy of people who are wanting just conservative media to report on the culture instead of reporting on it from a political sense. Just say, like, be like, hey, here are the cool memes, or hey, here's a piece on mental health. They don't have enough of that kind of, here's a cool profile on someone. Just that's what the left does so well, is they report on the culture instead of, with the right, it's just like all politics all the time. Well, that's why you're losing the culture. Well, yeah, you're reacting. If you're only writing about politics in all of your media, you're reacting to the culture. You're always going to be in reactive. And I think they need to be more proactive. I actually think this is where the Daily Wire is a little bit ahead of everybody in terms of they understand memes, they understand running with the culture and driving it, and even though it's all still mostly political, they're harnessing that youthful energy.
Do you think the left will push reopening the asylums under the guise to fight homeless? I haven't heard anything about this.
No, they're houseless, by the way. Get up to speed on the politically correct term, people.
Blocked. For World War I, you got to do Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, Blueprint for Armageddon.
Okay.
So that is your suggestion.
He's supposed to come on the pod, actually.
Is he? That's really cool.
Yeah.
Hold on. This bounces around all the time. Okay, next one. We have Hannah Jones firework conspiracy. Does she genuinely believe it, or is she trying to program the plebs further? I don't know what this is referring to.
Oh, okay. So she nuked her Twitter account today. I don't know who that is. She's the 1619 Project.
Oh, good. Okay.
And then I thought she nuked her account because she had a tweet about what did she say? It was in a response to somebody. It was about how the Native Americans had slaves.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, no, she's just one of a kind, that one. Oh, she said, did you know Native? And she said it would be an honor, thank you, because there was a petition to name the riots the 1619 Project, I believe, or something, or 1619. And then she said it would be an honor. And then somebody said, I have a complaint about this article. Black slavery is not the origin of this country or its original sin. The genocide of Native Americans is. I really want us to work on bringing what happened to Native Americans into these conversations about the history of this nation. They quote tweeted her saying, Ida Bay, saying it would be an honor to have the riots named 1619. Then someone said, good point. I've always felt Native American Indians have less than zero representation, no voice whatsoever. The woman who quote tweeted said, I agree. They're often left out of these conversations, even though most people have at least heard about things like the Trail of Tears. Even worse, they continue to be mistreated by the government and the law in this country and suffer because of it. And then Ida Bay said, did you know Native people brought the enslaved Black people they owned on the Trail of Tears? And then nuked her account. Oh. Because she got piled on for that.
Oh, wow. Okay. Huh. Tanks on Yale's doorstep when? It's ASAP, Gordon. Maybe Dukakis can drive them. Bridget, can you discuss Joe Biden time traveling? I don't know what this means.
Time traveling. What is this referring to?
Greg's Canadian, so a lot of these references.
I feel like I do maybe did say something about that, but I don't know what.
Okay. How did you gain your admiration for Candy Darling and drag? Oh, that's easy. When I was in high school, I cut my teeth, thank God, on Camille Paglia. And Camille Paglia at the time, if you read her book, her second book, I forgot what it's called, she described herself as a drag queen feminist. And her first book, Sexual Personae, was her master's thesis or whatever, doctorate, where it was about androgyny throughout culture and history. So she was someone who was very big on talking about how gender plays in mythology and pop culture and so on and so forth. So because I was kind of weaned on her, and she's a Warholian, by which she meant she's very big on pop culture being what moves countries, that, thank God, is something that got to me at a very, very early age. And it's affected me ever since. Scott Adams, what?
Fun fact, my uncle worked with Warhol.
Oh, fuck yeah, that is fun.
And he painted his portrait. He was in New York in that time.
That is really cool. Scott Adams suggests that entertainment will merge with education and with the impending financial collapse of non-elite universities and public schooling. What might y'all's courses consist of? I would be teaching on North Korea. I could teach on scenes that made the world. So I would talk about the left bank in France. I talk about the Harlem Renaissance. I talk about New York in the 70s. I talk about the Warhol Circle. So I think that kind of a pop culture history of the United States is something that is extremely necessary. And I could talk about anarchism as well. Those are some of my courses. What about you, Bridget?
Oh, God. Yours are so cool. I want to enroll in your school.
No girls.
No girls. I identify as a boy now.
It's a school, not a brothel.
I identify as a man now just to get in your school.
Okay, well, we'll allow it. What would your courses be?
I don't know. I would have courses like, I don't know. I really don't think I have anything to teach anyone.
Yeah, you do. You teach them how to thrive in chaos. How to thrive on chaos. That's an easy one for you.
Yeah. I would definitely like to help people out with addiction.
Yeah.
Recognizing and I think consuming media would be one. How to consume media wisely. Knowing your own biases and then understanding how to read it. And I think also, addiction, mental. I don't know. Yeah, I think
Those
that's
are good ones. I subscribe to both your locals for a month so you can keep doing what you do. Bridget, I showed dumpster fire to my girlfriend and she thinks you're funny. Look at this. Justin wanted to drop $5 so people know he has a girlfriend. Okay, great, Justin.
I'm very popular with the wives and girlfriends.
Are you?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Why do you think that is?
Because I'm non-threatening and also it seems like it's particularly men who are kind of center or center right. And so maybe even if their girlfriends are a little center left, that's where those are my people. So I feel like they can identify with me.
Okay.
I think.
COVID first, and then riots. What's next? October surprise will determine election, right? I don't think October surprise. Here's something that's a low-hanging fruit. First of all, we might see Biden get coronavirus, and the articles are going to be that Trump tried to kill Biden. The other one is there's the Supreme Court justice who's almost Ruth Bader Ginsburg's age, the guy. Everyone forgets about him. I think something's going to happen to him, and we're going to have Supreme Court vacancy, and it's going to be absolutely
that's nuclear. What I think. I think it's going to be Supreme Court vacancy. There's an update on that Hannah Jones's account. It's back. Okay. And she deleted the entire day's tweets and then just retweeted a bunch of articles from other people.
The one I'm thinking of is Breyer. He is 81 years old, and everyone forgets that he exists. So he
might be dead.
Yeah, and no one just noticed because they're staring at Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I think the rioters are motivated by desire for power, just like the cathedral. How do we make sure they don't take power when the cathedral falls? Rioters can't take power because they're not elite. You need a coherent leadership. So there might be people who would leverage those rioters to seize power, but just a group of people who are looting are not in a position to be administrators. It doesn't really make sense.
That's a good answer.
You'd be much more concerned about the Black Lives Matter activists because they are in a position to take leadership and tell people what to do.
And organized.
Over the weekend, I purchased the HQ collection of all the uncovered art of my favorite artists, Zdzislaw Beksinski. Gave me great pleasure. Have you done a similar purchase that brings you joy? Bridget, that's a great question. This is something I talk about. I'm going to talk about my book, Treating Yourself with Presents. And I'm getting all blurry.
With presents?
Yeah.
Oh, like
I'll give you an example.
Presents?
No, like when I did Rogan, I just sent a picture to my friend Chris, and he's like, "Oh, I love your socks." When I went Rogan, I did Rogan last time. I went to the Happy Sock store, and I bought a pair of orange socks with black cherries on them. And I'm like, this is just a concretization that I did good today. And when I wear the socks, I remember that because we have hedonic adaptation, right? When things go good for us, we get used to it, and then we forget how far we've come in all our accomplishments. So it's important to have something to remind you, go, you're feeling bad today. Remember how this awesome thing happened and you're just used to it now? Don't get used to it.
Yeah, I love that. I actually got my nails done and my toes in a black market session, and because they're still not open here, and it was something I always gave myself even when I was waiting tables. It was just one of those little things that I always did, and I forgot how good it felt and just what a joy it was. And the woman's story was so amazing. She's coming on my podcast.
Oh.
Because it was like the most romantic, amazing. It was like a fairy tale story, her story. And so that experience just reminded me of, and it wasn't cheap because of the black market nature of it. And it just reminded me of A, how far I've come from waiting tables, because that was something I always gave myself. And B, how simple and easy it is to, it was funny. My aunt was saying, like, I feel human again when she got hers done.
Yeah.
And there is a sense of just, it made me feel pampered and slightly more civilized.
I'm going to try to get as many questions as I can because I know Bridget at some point has to walk Hope. So
I'm fine. She's fine. She's like,
okay. Just want to give you your out. Right, yes, I do very much. A little cutie pie. I love that dog so much. Oh my God. She's just sweetie.
She'll let me know when we're done.
Brett Weinstein was on Rogan's podcast recently. His outlook on the future of the country is pretty black pill. Want to get your take on this. Thanks for keeping us sane. Well, I'm as white pill as it gets.
I've heard. I haven't seen the podcast. Have you seen it?
I've never seen a podcast. Like I don't have the attention span. I've never sat through a Rogan. Even mine, I couldn't do it.
Most people I know who have podcasts have never seen a podcast.
Yeah. They're like, I've seen a few, but I can't sit through them.
I've heard from a lot of people that it was pretty bleak, though. I've been hearing this from the peoples that Brett's outlook.
Okay, well, I have very much the opposite outlook. Coyotes in the suburbs, global warming. I think coyotes are pretty good in most climates, so I don't think that's really an issue. Bridget, any thoughts?
Yeah, I saw a coyote the other night walking Hope, just crossing the street, middle of the street, urban coyote.
Huh. I do think if Biden wins, watching the normie cons' faces melt off would be hilarious. Although also being the literal underdog would be such a boost for the right. Yeah, I think there's something to that. And I also think we forget that a lot of times Democrats are in a position to get over right-wing goals that the right could never ask for themselves. Bill Clinton, for example, gave us a balanced budget and certain other things. So, and a ban on gay marriage. This is something the Republican could have gotten over. So people forget that politics is often dialectic because it's too nuanced for them and drives them crazy. Any thoughts, Bridge?
No, not really. I think that my worry is Trump with no accountability and just a massive a massive platform. My question is, how quickly would he be banned from Twitter if he lost the presidency?
Oh yeah, that's a great question.
Because him with all that power to incite people and his huge underdog audience of
that's a great point.
I just wonder, A, how long he'd be allowed to have his platform, and B, would it be more, would we be closer to that civil war everyone talks about if he loses?
Biden doesn't remember where and when he is. I think that's that's
a follow up to the time traveling. Yeah. I feel I make a lot of jokes about this, and it's not okay. I mean, it's okay, but I don't want to make, Alzheimer's and dementia are horrible. I've watched a lot of people go through this with their parents. It's something that's really tragic, and seeing him kind of struggle with whatever cognitive difficulties he faces is I just find it heartbreaking. And also I always, my default, even when I'm uncomfortable, is to find the joke.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Giving health advice. The dude who ate 60 Cadbury. I ate 13, I think it was, or 14. No, it's 13 Baker's dozen. And I am healthy as an ox. I can assure you. The cum gutters are on point. Have you read Propaganda by Edward Bernays? I have. That is, if there's a book I'm going to write at some point, I don't want to spoil anything, but yes, I have read Propaganda by Edward Bernays. How Pop Culture Created America with Professor Malice. I could call myself Dr. Malice, I think. Just like that very failed podcaster, Tom Woods, always insists on being called Dr. Woods. I think we're almost caught up. There's just one more. Here we go. Michael, any suggestions as I go down the fragrance rabbit hole? Tried most of Imaginary Author's line as my first. Well, that was a mistake because that's not a good line. So if you're going to go down a fragrance rabbit hole, go to luckyscent.com or twistedleo.com and go to the male scents. And then I would say pick the 10 most popular ones. Don't get Creed because that's for older men. Try those. And then based on those, you can branch out based on a line that you like. Oh, I like Serge Lutens. Or based on a scent you like. Oh, I like bergamot scents, or I like smoky scents. So you can go in one direction or across, and that's a very easy way to rabbit hole on fragrances. Do you have a signature scent?
They don't make it anymore. It used to be Escape. I loved it. But
By who?
Estee Lauder, and I loved it. And it was very feminine. And now I don't even know how to say his name because I'm not a brand girl. Mizrahi.
Isaac Mizrahi, yeah, he's Syrian
yeah.
Jewish, yeah.
So he has, it's close to Escape. When I asked the woman at the store if there's anything close to it, she actually even knew. And now I use that.
Okay. I have a few, but I won't tell anyone. Do you like the documentaries of Adam Curtis? I don't know who that is.
Me neither.
Oh, okay. Are you someone who is going to, you talked about this, we've caught up on questions. We flirted a bit about this on Twitter. Are you someone who is seriously considering not voting in November?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm in California, so who gives a shit? But I'm not inspired. I wasn't inspired in 2016. I held my nose and did it anyway. I didn't feel great about it. And I now feel like I just don't even want to participate. And maybe I'll write something funny in or whatever. But at the moment, I know this is like sacrilegious to say in 2020 or whatever year we're in. But yeah, I'm not. The problem I have with this whole space, and why I love you, my favorite thing about you, Michael Malice, not that anyone asked me the question, is that you managed to make punditry somewhat lighthearted and aspirational. And I find it to be the opposite of that and very snarky, and politics is more disgusting than even Hollywood portrays it.
Sure.
And the more I've learned and know about the space and all of it, the more cynical it has a tendency to make me feel. Although you still seem to have a lighthearted, although anarchist touch.
Yeah.
And you still have fun, and I want to feel joy. And that's why I've been leaning into just more of the mental health stuff, which I feel like is more important to me anyway, and relationships, and even like, I wrote for Playboy for years, and I don't get any sex questions because I'm like, is anyone even having sex anymore? Because no one's dating because of COVID. So this whole COVID thing has done a weird thing to the culture, and comedy is pretty much dead. Like you can't make any jokes. And comedy and free speech were kind of a lot of my wheelhouses are like have been shut down to a certain extent. So I'm just grateful. I'm really most of the time just like happy to be here. And in terms of voting, it doesn't make me feel good. So now I'm trying to go towards things that inspire me. Maybe if someone comes out of the gates and inspires me, but I want to be inspired, not required to vote.
Yeah. If me and Bridget were to have a movie night, what movie would you watch first? I can think of a couple. Maybe Amelie would be up there.
One of my favorites is Harold and Maude. I just think it's such a perfect movie.
Also,
that is an old school classic. Love The Thin Man. I actually feel like that's how you and I somewhat interact. It's very, very sarcastic dynamic between the two. That movie is another perfect movie.
These are great answers, I think. Hold on. Where we at? Another one from Oh my God, puppies. Check out Century of the Self by Curtis about the impact of Freud and Edward Bernays on marketing and propaganda. You also have to add to that list Walter Lippmann, whose book Public Opinion was enormously influential in this regard, which I read recently, which was really Walter Lippmann, Public Opinion, and Edward Bernays. This is about Edward Bernays, but Edward Bernays' book Propaganda is just, I'm getting the titles maybe mixed up, but those are the two. Do you think that the cultural relevance of Twitter is overblown, given that only 22% of Americans use this? I had this tweet over the weekend. I'll give my answer than yours. No, ladies first, please. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I have this conversation all the time. I think that Twitter is influential. It's not necessarily representative. So it influences culture in ways that we don't even, that the other percentage of people who aren't on it might not even be aware of. You see a bunch of think pieces about how there aren't enough LGBTQ representation in the Marvel world, and then you see a bunch of people on Twitter fighting about it. Then a producer gets dragged, and next thing you know, there's a gay character in Marvel, and the other 80%, 78%, you are like, oh, cool, there's a gay character in Marvel, and you have no idea why that's there. But there was a whole thing on Twitter. It's Ben Howe said that it's basically like a giant think tank, and it's where all the kind of people who are in media and entertainment and everything, they're literally called think pieces. Yeah. So I think it's influential, very influential.
I'm a hardcore elitist. It drives me crazy when people try to reduce things to numerical superiority. Like, for example, when I was doing my book on the New Right, so many people were like, well, there's not that, but people who are both critiquing it and defending it were just like, well, it's only like 200 people. I'm like, how many people did Lenin have? Like, that's how many people were in the Continental Congress? How many people are in the Senate right now? So 50% of Americans have no mind. It doesn't really matter what they think. So if 22% of Americans are using it, and all of those are the people who make the decisions. If you want to understand how culture works, listen to the speech by Miranda Priestley in The Devil Wears Prada. She lays out exactly the elitist model of how culture works. So I don't think the cultural relevance is overblown at all. And my biggest argument for this proof is that we have a president who tweeted his way into the White House, which ostensibly should not, or at the end of the nomination, neither of these things would have been possible 8 years prior.
You have me. Literally, I am proof of this. I always say I was a dirtbag in the mentions. I started on Twitter with 200 followers. I got my first job at Playboy from Twitter. I got every opportunity thereafter through Twitter. I am on this podcast from Twitter. I could probably trace every dollar that I'm making to Twitter. So the cultural relevance, and that is only because of me just talking about the culture. And so I don't think that you can underestimate. I think people underestimate how relevant Twitter is.
Yeah, and social media as a whole. And I think Facebook is decreasingly relevant because it's creating these silos. I think were you the one who came up with that expression, but the idea that like people speak to their own, but Twitter is a very different animal because with Twitter, the default is to be able to communicate with each other. With Facebook, it's more you have to allow them in. It's inclusion versus exclusion.
Yeah. And I think it's also just thought of as like boomers.
Yeah. I think it's losing its cachet very quickly. Yeah.
I mean, definitely my sister has 3 kids and they're all Gen Z, and they laugh at anyone on Facebook, even Instagram. They think Instagram is for boomers. Oh. And they're all like, that's ridiculous. You're a loser. If you're on Instagram, they're all on Snapchat and TikTok. Huh. And my sister was like, can you make bite-sized parts of Dumpster Fire? And I'm like, how long? She's like 7 seconds. She's like, they can't sit through more than 2 minutes of anything. Their attention span is like nothing. It's literally as long as a TikTok.
Wow. Okay.
So they ingest everything in 2-minute sound bites, that entire generation.
Huh. Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, and 1 is white and 10 is black, what color is your pill?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were asking the just general audience.
No. God help us.
Like today?
Yeah, sure, today.
Very white. It's white. You know, it's as white as it gets. But I've been doing I've got the white pill privilege today.
Why? What happened?
I don't know. I've just been doing I've been focusing on the things I can control. I've been which is my attitude, my work, not the results of my work, my relationships, and my immediate environment. And when I stay in that tiny little bubble, I feel very optimistic. And I also haven't been spending that much time engaging in it's all hormonal too. I mean, I'm a woman, so I'm deep. My state of mind is deep. Whether my lens, I've realized more and more as I've become older and in touch with the cycles, is definitely more affected by where I am in the cycle. So
Here's a good question, Michael. Were you ever part of the '90s club kid scene? I was. I was not, but in my living room is a painting by Michael Alec, who's the Club Kid Killer, and I have it because I went to a store, like a kind of thrifty store in Soho in Manhattan, and I saw a painting and it looked like the signature said Malice, but it was M. Alec, and my mom bought me the painting for my birthday, whatever year that was, and I wrote to him. We corresponded while he was in jail, and I went to visit him in jail, and I'd never met a true blue sociopath before. And you know how we all hear about these DSM things like, oh, that sounds like me. Maybe I'm borderline. And then you meet an actual borderline. You're like, oh, yeah, this isn't just like they're quirky. This is really, really a thing. Yeah. This is a good one for Bridget. If you were a betting gal, what do you think the factory settings of the American generation after the Zoomers will be?
oh, that is a good one.
That's a tough one.
After the Zoomers, wow.
Yeah.
I feel like there will be a big shift. This is just what I'm guessing. Back to like homesteading.
Oh.
I think there will be a big shift back to being self-reliant.
Okay.
Because we have, if anything has been highlighted in this COVID time, and these kids are all growing up in it, especially the ones who have been on lockdown, they've realized how useless their education is. This is what I keep hearing from all of them. They're like, I should be learning how to grow my own food and like make stuff instead of. So I feel like they're taking that, and I see it even with my nephews, like going out into the world and learning how to do things that are much more in the world. So I think my guess is there might be a return to IRL and, just and also more going back and learning. I just recently had a cousin who bounced out of California, and he actually got his degree in horticulture, and he's like got a bunch of land so that he can grow food. And I think people have become more aware of just even suddenly giving the grocers like the applause.
Yeah.
People just aren't aware of the supply chains and being aware that so much of our stuff comes from China. So how do we bring back and making antibiotics back, bringing things back to America and being able to be more self-reliant? That's my guess in an optimistic white pill world. But even in black pill, if it goes all
Same thing. Yeah,
same thing.
Homesteading.
Yeah.
Who's gonna bring Brigham Young the moon? I don't know what that means. Oh, okay. Will the Civil War be along state lines like before with the same states? There's not going to be a Civil War. One of the stupidest, I'm sorry, I don't want to say stupid because it's not stupid, but it is a very blue pill take that the Civil War was fought from the North's perspective to liberate the slaves and that it was necessary. Neither of the 10 slavery, neither things are true. There's not going to be any Civil War, and it wouldn't be along the same lines either. I think it would be the coasts would be the issue. What do you think, Bridge?
I don't know. I feel like I'm like, what are you going to shoot your neighbor because they don't like your MAGA hat? I mean, what are we going to fight?
Right.
When I hear this, I'm like, people are too comfortable, for civil war. And what are they actually fighting over? What do they not have, or who would they be liberating? People fight civil wars are fought. I have a hard time conceiving of it. That being said, I don't rule anything out anymore. But I just have a hard time I think that people are more likely to band together than they are. People want to maintain their comfort. if there's some kind of breakdown, it's going to be like when the dollar collapses
Yeah.
or when, like that's when, and then it won't be a civil war. It'll just be every man for themselves, I think.
Yeah. What are your favorite bands and singers?
Ooh, that's a good one. I mean, I just love still the other day. I haven't been as into them as I was, but I love Radiohead so much.
Okay, computer.
Okay,
Okay,
computer.
boomer.
Okay, computer. No, but okay, computer was just. I love them. I grew up on them. I sat in the trees at the Greek and listened to them play, and because I couldn't afford to buy tickets because they're freaking capitalists. And I love bluegrass. I love Devil Makes Three. They're one of my favorites, and their live shows are incredible. I'm all over the place with music. I love really anything. I love classical.
Have you
What
watched
about
Larry?
you? You didn't answer.
Oh,
You have a whole freaking rack of CDs behind you.
I would say probably Blondie.
Mhm.
Some songwriters I really like are Maria McKee, Tanya Donnelly. Aha are probably the most underrated band of all time. Um, I think those are off the top of my head some good answers.
And Led Zeppelin, I know, is like so act. I love them so much. I wrote a whole script listening to them. It was the first CD I ever owned when I was 13. This is when Malice. We finished this and I'm blocked.
Wouldn't be the first. Have you watched Larry Elder's Uncle Tom? I recommend. I have not even heard of it.
I'll watch it.
Larry Elder, I'm not a big fan of particularly. Like the BoomerCon stuff just really does not sit well with me at all. I think we're on the right path to get more built and done in America. What's this we? You're from Canada. We need increases in taxes, money supply, government control of the economy. There you go. That's the ticket. That's the ticket, mon ami. Okay, Josh just sent a note. Okay, thank you, Josh. That's very nice of you. And there was someone else here. Nope, we're caught up. Okay, is that so nice we're caught up?
What is it about the BoomerCon stuff that doesn't sit well with you?
I think it's entirely uninformed historically. I think it's entirely making the worst mistake of the right, which is reacting to the left and fighting it on their turf. And I think, like, if I listen to, let's say, it's just a lot of huffing, and it's like you don't know what you're talking about, and you're just playing to your crowd, and you're not actually going to be persuading people. And I think a lot of it's delusional. I do not think Donald Trump is going to have 40% of the black vote. And I think anyone who says that to the boomers is lying, or anything close to 40%. Now, I know the argument, which is indisputably true, that if the Republicans got a huge percentage or a significant percentage of black vote, that would be the death knell of the Democratic Party. I was on a show, and I'm blanking on the guy's name. I'm very sorry. I'm not trying to not name him. When I was doing my book tour last year, and he was saying that he thinks Trump's going to get a big portion of black vote. And I said, he's like, don't you? And I said, no. And he goes, how do you know that? I go, because we had the midterms. Like, you have a hypothesis. This hypothesis is not ridiculous. We ran the numbers. They had Senate races and House races. The numbers weren't there that you're predicting. And he goes, well, that was just the House and Senate. And he goes, he goes, don't you think that when you have these unemployment numbers, people come home and they're going to talk to each other and vote Republican? I said, no. I do not think that's how culture works at all, especially black culture, where there's a stigma with the Republican Party. And he goes, well, the reason they didn't vote Republican in the midterms was because the media came out and lied to them, blah, 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 blah. I go, they're not going to do that in 2020? What the fuck are you talking? And it was just, as soon as this pushback, they're not very good from the right. They don't really know what to do. Because I'm just going to say one thing. They're just so trained with this binary about the liberals, that anything other than that, or like acknowledging that the communists often hate the liberals, they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. It's interesting. I've been thinking a lot about just that in general, and watching the culture, just looking at the numbers and seeing like 70% of America supports Black Lives Matter, and the culture reacts to the right and goes even farther left. So what I'm curious about and seeing is, but I also have been hearing from a lot of black men in particular, and women, who are very supportive of Trump in particular. And so I wonder how there might be an uptick or an increase.
Sure.
Who's going to make or break this election is going, and this is what's interesting to me,
It's going to be Karen.
It's going to be those suburban women, and are they going to lie to their husbands and vote progressive, or are they going to vote the way they normally did? Because so many of those women have gone left. They've been with their kids who are people underestimate how much having their children home from college for all of these months has influenced a lot of these mothers in particular. And it's going to be interesting to see the way they vote in 2020. Yeah, Karen, it's going to be the election of Karen.
Yeah.
So people should be nicer to Karens.
Karen doesn't respond well to niceness. If you're nice to her, she's just going to dig in her heels. You got to give her the back of the hand. Brett Weinstein is a diehard progressive liberal, so his vision is too skewed. I fear in a civil war, the right would lose due to conscience and guilt.
What?
This cosplay you guys are imagining, I don't see it at all. At all. Look at Brexit. There's no civil war. Do you like the Pixies?
People are not getting off their... As long as there's Netflix and the internet, there will not be a civil war. There might be these little groups that fight online, but the average person is too lazy, working too hard for their freaking income. Like, people have to work.
And the deep state is too powerful. What they could do is they could sit people down and be like, here's what's going to happen. You're going to go on TV and you're going to say this, and then we don't fucking kill your family, okay? You understand? Good. There's not... that's much more likely than a fucking civil war. Do you like the Pixies? I very much approve of the Pixies, although I don't own any Pixies CDs. What about you?
I do, but I love Led Zeppelin. now I just know it's gonna irritate Michael.
No, it just makes me. Yeah.
He loses respect for me.
That's not true. It's not. The Fed has printed $3.5 trillion in 3 months. Burr. What's burr mean?
I'm cold from all that money, that cash.
I don't know what that means in this context.
Burr.
Is he saying Burns?
Does it mean burr? I don't know what that means.
Now I'm really spitting. The Devil Makes Three is my favorite band from Guy Harmon.
So good.
Nice profile pic, Guy.
So good.
Okay. Would you rather watch Biden and Trump fight to the death or make sweet love?
What?
Oh,
that's hard. I love that we're both like,
I mean, I want to see I want to see politicians killed, but I also don't want to watch it. And I don't think I'd enjoy watching an old man getting beaten to death.
Or making sweet
love is not. That's not gonna be fun either. I'm gonna go with the sweet love.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to.
I don't want to watch people fight to the death.
Yeah.
I'm not quite in the Coliseum yet.
Yeah, right. We got a ways to go. So, so that's that.
Although we do it on Twitter. We're like, stop! He's already dead.
Oh, I know. People do that
watch
to me
Michael
sometimes.
Kill people all day long on Twitter.
So fun. It is so fucking fun. Here's the thing that I've started doing. I've been not sleeping well. Like, I'll wake up at 5 or 7. No, but I wake up rested, but it's just like I'll get up for some reason. And I'll go online, I'll go on Twitter, and I'll drop some nukes and go back to bed. And then I'll wake up and be like, oh yeah, like I told this guy his mom's pussy smells. Like, and I'll have no real memory of it because this is like liminal or like subliminal brain talking. But I got some good zingers in there. It's a lot of fun. So I wake up and I'm like, oh, this is pretty good.
I do that a lot. I'll say something and then I'll be like, because I don't have it on my phone. I only have it on my computer. So I'll just close my computer and walk away, and I'll come back and I'll be like, oh.
Oh, they're explaining the memes to us boomers. They're saying that the money printer goes burr.
We're such boomers.
I don't know from memes.
They don't print money anymore. It's all digital. No one's printing money.
People gave me shit for my system of how I keep track of money, and that I take out X amount of dollars a week, and that's my spending cash for the week to keep myself on a budget.
That's
and
smart.
People give me shit, and they're like, "Oh my god, blah blah blah." I'm like, okay, yeah. So it's
they only print money for those photo shoots that guy Munchin did with his wife.
What do you mean? Mnuchin, Steve Mnuchin. Yeah.
Mnuchin.
Yeah.
I just call him Munchin.
Bird.money is a webpage. Okay. Thank you, Jose. You are the absolute monarch of the radical states after secession. What is your strategy to keep these suckers docile? That's a good one.
Oh, the radical states? The little renegades. I think they're mostly docile once they're able to just do their own thing.
Yeah, give them Netflix, right?
I'm just free Netflix.
Yeah, free Netflix.
No, when I'm the monarch of the radical state, it's just gonna be, don't fucking hurt people. And my whole thing on locals on Phetasy.com is don't be a dick. Don't be a dick. How hard is this? You're the king of the
king of dick.
King of dick.
Michael Malice, the king of dick. I love him. Like, can we?
Nothing is better than that. The Team America description of humanity.
Dicks and pussy.
Yeah.
And all that shit. Yeah.
I feel like there has never been a better breakdown of humanity than that.
Do you not? Okay, here's one about being a dick. Do you get pleasure in seeing genuinely bad people get harmed?
Ooh, so I really try to, okay, so here's a good example is someone might be getting piled on and you know that they're a piece of shit. And I don't like pile-ons in general. And so I won't necessarily partake in it. But recently I found myself just kind of being obsessive and observing it and then I was like, why can't I stop watching this? And I was like, it's giving me some joy watching this piece of shit get like piled on. And then I have to, that's when I have to take a step back and do my own work because I don't want to enjoy it. I feel like it's deeply human to enjoy it, but I don't think it's in my best interest or in the best interest of I don't like the way it feels ultimately, even if I'm enjoying it. What
if Harvey Weinstein got the shit beat out of him in jail? This man multiple rapes.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify the audience. It's not just like, he was alleged, like violent rapes.
Yeah. Would I enjoy it?
Yeah. Or hearing about it.
I don't know that I would.
I don't know that I would either, now that I say it.
I don't know that I would enjoy it, although I don't know that I would feel bad for him at all.
Sure.
So there's and I guess that is a important difference because people that get piled on, I usually feel the glee when they're on the left and I've watched them partake in that same behavior. So then I'm like, now I fucking warned you all. The mob will come for you eventually someday and never listen. But so that's, I guess, different. I mean, what is it, that word? Schadenfreude? Is that? Yeah, I think that I would feel like karma's a bitch in that case. But I don't know that I would enjoy it.
President Biden will make the left docile again. Agree? I don't agree. I don't think he has any leadership.
He's not gonna win. They don't want him to win. Why doesn't anyone understand this? The left needs Trump. He is their perfect foil. They cannot go fucking bonkers off the deep end with all the shit they want to do with Biden. They can only do that with Trump. And then you will never see a Republican president again.
WTF, Bridget, DLM. What's that mean?
DLM.
Greg, you are being really cryptic today. We got a commercial for Nick Fuentes, but it's 2 hours ago. I don't understand.
Oh my gosh.
I don't understand.
That's a delayed commercial.
Yeah. Michael, when the states break up, will you remain a heretic in New York City or flee to the red-pilled states of America? Well, given that they're going to have my face on top of the Empire State Building, like, obviously I'm staying here. Yeah, I don't know. New York's been getting to me of late recently. I don't know how to drive. I'm going to start traveling a lot more thanks to my next spike funding is going to be going different places to try different ice creams across the country. You getting a call?
No, I just found out my nail salon's opening.
Fuck yeah. When that gym opens up, I'm going to be so fucking happy. Great showing on Curb Your Enthusiasm. That's right. You are a famous actress. You're still an independent thinker. Do you feel like any less of an outsider in Hollywood? That's a great question.
Do I feel any less of an outsider?
Yeah.
No, I'm not. They're not. You know, that was such a bit role. I don't know that I could get a part that mattered. I think people would come and say, you are making us feel unsafe by having this person who associates with Michael Malice and his kin. And
yes, kind.
She is followed by Donald Trump Jr. I would not. She has been retweeted by Donald Trump Jr. This person cannot be in our writers' room or cannot be on this show.
Bridget Phetasy, who's been retweeted by Donald Trump Jr., That's how it go. That's how they fucking do it.
And so I definitely still feel like an outsider. And I worry, and that's why I'm like, why the fuck am I here?
How was that experience like? How did that happen?
I open for Jeff Garlin occasionally, and jokingly one day I said, if you ever have the role of a waitress or a hostess, I was like totally kidding. And then one day he was like, hey, do you want to be, one day it just kind of like happened. And yeah, it was super fun. I think they just needed someone. And so I didn't think I'd get to say anything, so that was exciting. I was like just happy to be on the show because I always want to. I'm like, if I ever even had my own show, I wouldn't even want to play the lead. I would just want to play the waitress in like every single thing that I ever made.
This was a good one. What triggered the normies in your first versus Second Amendment poll? I had a poll question today, and I don't like associating with binary thinkers and people who are just not capable of sophisticated thought because I think they're going to do more harm than good and be a resource drain. So I had a question: if you had to get rid of one, repeal one, which of these two amendments would you repeal, the first or the second? And a lot of people are like, well, you can't have one without the other. It's like, well, legally you could very easily have one without the other. And then everyone's free, like a lot of people freaking neither, and those all got blocked. So that was a tough question to answer. Now, since I will answer you guys. The poll's not over. I will give you my answer. Because then they also are like, well, you'd rather have guns than free speech. That's not the question. I would repeal the Second Amendment because I don't think it's very effective legally. It's not used and invoked. Gun laws are pretty much put in place as if the Second Amendment doesn't exist and are a function of the culture. The First Amendment is treated still legally as sacrosanct and does have power. Despite conservative lies, this is a very recent historical phenomenon. There have been enormous cases of censorship throughout our history, including political censorship, starting with like the Third Congress. So I would repeal the second, even though I'm not a free speech person. I think guns are more important than the gun rights are more important than speech rights.
Why aren't you a free speech person?
Because I think that term is overused to mean things like you shouldn't block people, everyone has something interesting to say, blah, blah. Like, but that term is just, it's a degenerate term, so I don't like it. And I think free speech is a secondary right to property right. I have a mic, I can use it however I want. You have a mic, you can use it however you want. No one has a right inherently to speech. It's not really, you have a right to your property is how I look at it. I think all the Jews should formally claim New York City as their own when we balkanize. Don't worry, you can always come from ice cream in Scando Celtia. Where's Scando Celtia? I think we've kind of claimed New York as our own already. I don't think. Oh, actually, no, not with the mayor we have now, who's fucking launching these pogroms on a regular basis. So, yeah,
Italians.
Yeah, Italian. So, yeah, I think that will be fine. I don't think that's going to be much of a concern. I'll bring it up at the next meeting of the Elders of Zion. Me and Ben are going to have a good little mignon. Dave's going to be in there too. So. But it was really fun because I do enjoy blocking people who can't handle things, and that of all the questions I've run, that was the most where I had to just block. Like I was like Tetris, I was just throwing out blocks like crazy, like 30 in a minute. It was insane.
You would have like a 400,000 to 500,000 person audience, I think, if you didn't block so many people.
I do feel, okay, I'm going to be all real tea. I feel a responsibility to my audience. And I'm sure a lot of people I block shouldn't be blocking. But a lot of, like, for example, someone came after one of my followers today and they would just snide to him, you're not going to be around me.
No,
Like,
no.
I feel it's my job to some extent, create an environment for my audience to thrive.
No, you froze.
And
Yeah.
part of it's also I have no time for anyone's bullshit or interests. But it's both. But it's mostly the second one, not having the time and interest. From 1 to 10, how much do you dislike the Chop Chaz Seattle bozos who feel like a welfare version of Occupy from a decade ago? I think they're great. I think they are showing that there's different kinds of leftism. I think they're trying something different. I think they're ridiculous, but they're interesting to watch, and they're a lot better than some kind of corporate lefty. So yeah, they're like it's anything that adds to our chaos and ridiculousness is my up my alley. So I adore them. What do you think, Bridge?
I call them Burning Man for pores.
Yeah,
I'm all about. I'm like, this is what happens when you don't have enough money to go to Burning Man. You just start burning things. I'm with you on this, and that I might feel differently about it if I had property nearby.
Yeah.
So because I have people in my community and the Phetasy community who live nearby, and they have a very different perspective on this. And I'm not sure they fully understand what autonomous means, which always cracks me up. But yeah, I mean, it's like a fucking South Park episode. I keep saying
it is. It is literally.
Like, obviously, we were crowdsourcing a South Park, and they're like, obviously, Randy's in there. Obviously, Cartman becomes the warlord. Like, this is a South Park. It's just it writes itself. And so, and Kenny dies, because the police can't come in, and the ambulance. Like, I don't even need to write it. They just need to. The South Park guys literally just need to transcribe what's happening. They don't. That's it.
This is another one. Yeah, China, the USSR, and Weimar all had First Amendment protections in their constitution. Yeah, so it's not what's on the piece of paper; it's how much culturally those ideas are backed up. That's the other thing. Someone was like, "Oh, I don't want to lose my freedom." I go, losing the amendment wouldn't mean necessarily lost your freedom at all. Do you think the harder we ignore the cathedral and their vandals, I'm not ignoring them, the more extreme measures they'll pursue? I don't. Yes, given their druthers, they will go as extreme as possible. What do you think, Bridget?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been pretty clear because and what I've been calling it is narrative whiplash, like that sense that they are, people always say like, oh, when it bleeds, it leads. I'm like, yeah, but it's bleeding and leading while they're telling you that it's not. That's totally different. That's like something completely new and different where they're literally standing in front of burning buildings and telling you that they're not on fire, where they're telling you not to gather because of a pandemic while there are images of thousands of people marching down the streets. Like that is why people are progressively feeling more and more insane. And I think that it has become very clear that they're willing to just openly lie, openly switch their tone, openly say whatever they want to say and exert their power. I mean, that's all this is really just wielding their power.
Bitch gets it. Bitch fucking gets it. +1. They have a SoundCloud rapper warlord. What's that like?
I've got some catching up to do from the Led Zeppelin. I'm a default.
Scando Celtia is what I call my future empire of the Pacific Northwest. Voodoo Donuts is not good. Hate to say it. Voodoo Donuts is not good. We got just a comment from Steel Wrath. I like that name. Okay. Whew. You gotta walk Hope. Yeah. We're gonna bounce in 5 minutes. Because I got shit to do. Fun. This has been a lot of fun. You don't do these?
I should. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I should do them with my audience. We do Zoom calls just in the community. So we'll do like group Zooms, which are super fun. And I feel like keep everybody a little bit sane. Every other week we'll do them. So if you're up for something like that, but I don't do like the live things like this. This would be something great. I'm barely tech functional.
Yeah, but if you just go to StreamYard.com, it does it all for you.
Okay. Yeah, then I'll definitely start doing this. And
it plugs. Do you have a YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it just plugs into your YouTube live stream. It's just literally there's nothing you have to do.
So is this on YouTube or is this private?
It's on YouTube right now. We got 1,000 people watching.
Hello.
We have 1,060 people.
Like the boomer, I'm like, I'm thinking this is us and 20 people.
No, it's 1,000. So, and I'm going to leave it up and I have your links in the comments so people can follow you on Twitter and go to phetasy.locals.com.
As I always say on my YouTube show, Dumpster Fire, I'm just an old lady on YouTube. Because I don't understand. I'm like, I'm just an old lady on YouTube. Please love me.
Yeah, the reason we were late is because we were having boomer tech issues and we both couldn't figure out how to fix them.
Touch my bells and buttons. Like, subscribe, and comment.
Yeah.
That's what you need to
do. What's your favorite thing about Locals? That'll be my last question.
Oh, the community. Because I don't, that is the best thing for me, is just the way that I've watched my community, and I think it is like what you cultivate, what attitude you cultivate. Yeah. And so that's why I was joking that I'm a food blogger, because it's just all of us sharing recipes, all of us sharing dog pictures, somebody lost his wife, and everybody was really uplifting and loving. And during the pandemic, everybody was very supportive. And then during all of the unrest, it just feels like an actual oasis from a virtual oasis from the kind of nastiness you find everywhere else online. And I see the way they interact with each other, and it warms my heart. I love going there. It doesn't give me the same feeling even that Twitter does, which is sometimes dirty.
Yeah, my people have started using it like a Facebook.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like Facebook, but it behaves like Twitter in terms of its functionality. So you can comment. I don't know. I feel like there's something really lovely, and maybe it's new because it's so new, and maybe it'll just devolve like all nice things on the internet. But right now, yeah, I've called it my gated community, and I like that. I like that, and people feel safe there, I think, for the most part.
I've had no drama, which is a miracle.
No. And I feel like people are very respectful, and you can set your own rules. And I do have the ability to like boot somebody out of there if they're misbehaving or being disrespectful. And I have zero tolerance for that in the community. And that is the other thing I love about Locals, is you set the terms.
Did you ever have to boot anyone yet?
Not yet. No, everyone's so chill, actually. Yeah, it feels like a freaking drum circle. Feels like Chaz, man.
And I've had people who are like just talking about like, things in their family, like political stuff. They're just sharing like weird food that they're trying, because I'm very big on that. Yeah. So I'm just really, not really the memes. Also articles where like, can you believe this shit? And what they do, they're smart. They'll put the article in there, and then I go after it on Twitter. So it's a good way to feed me content for them to
I get
extrapolate.
That. Yeah. We do a lot of like, I'll be having trouble holding myself accountable to work out one day, and then I'll jump on and say, hey, ladies of the Phetasy fam, who wants to do a Zoom workout? And then I'll do Zoom, and we'll play a video, and then we'll work out. And so it's a way to hold each other accountable. Yeah, it's fun. That's something new we've started doing. So yeah, I like how it feels nice, and I like it. And I like that they're constantly adding new functions.
It's easy to promote something that you actually like.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in terms of being on Patreon, which I was on, and moving, I just like that Patreon was very me-centered, and this is very we-centered, and that makes me much more comfortable, because that's what I want to build, is a community of people who feel like, it's in some ways, I think yours functions like this too. It's like this shelter for the politically homeless.
Yes,
there are people
absolutely.
who don't feel like they belong anywhere, and they can't really even vent that safely anywhere, but they can in our communities, and that is important. Very important.
Thank you so much for taking up all this time.
Thank you
talk
for
to the
having
plebs.
me.
You are the best.
The plebs are. I was a pleb. I'm a dirtbag in the mentions. I'm a pleb. I'm a pleb.
You're a blue check, baby.
I'm a pleb here.
You're blue check. But not here. That's what matters. All right. I hope you all had fun. Bridget, I will talk to you soon.
I love you. I love you all. Thank you.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.